So Putin knows that he has a record, Trump, of being unpredictable and has been tough on him. And that kind of belies the conventional wisdom or criticism in Europe that Donald Trump is Putin's puppet.
Trump's obviously vowed to end the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. It's not an easy task. The Times is reporting that Russia won't be accepting the White House's proposal to end the war while Zelensky is in power. How can peace be achieved? Should we see Zelensky resign? Is Trump being too trusting of Putin? What's your assessment?
Well, Trump's already reacted to that, and he has threatened Putin with really the harshest sanctions that even the Europeans had never considered, and that would be an oil embargo on all countries, a complete trade embargo on all countries that buy Russian oil. And by the way, that would include some European countries that are very critical of the United States, but they still buy Russian oil and gas through third parties. So what he's doing is he's saying that every time that I slap down Zelensky and say you have to negotiate, then Russia gets emboldened. And every time Russian gets emboldened, I slap them down, and then Zelensky gets emboldened. But we're working toward a consensus, and I think everybody in Europe, the United States, everybody knows what the consensus is, that Russia will probably keep the Crimea and Donbass they stole during the Obama administration. They won't be in NATO, but they will be armed to the teeth. There'll be a DMZ, a commercial tripwire zone. And then the only outstanding issue is how far can you push Vladimir Putin back to his embarkation point on February 24th of 2022. But I think the pieces are all there. But we've got to remember, this is the worst battle since Stalingrad in World War II. There's been about 1.3 million dead, wounded, missing, sick, and killed. And it's senseless. And no one has stepped up and said, I want to do something to stop it. And our position in the United States had been, quote unquote, do whatever it takes. Well, that was just feeding a psalm or a Verdun.
Putin has ordered the largest recruitment of young men since 2011. 160,000 men are going to be called up for military service by July. Now, officials within the Russian military claim that the recruits won't be sent to fight in Ukraine. But what do you make of it? What should we make of these reports out of Russia?
He's doing that so he thinks that he can get concessions, and I don't think he's going to get them. One thing that we should remember is that he invaded leftist borders during 3 administrations. He invaded Ossetia and Georgia during the George W. Bush lame duck administration. He invaded Donbass and Crimea during the Obama administration, 2014, and he invaded and tried to take Kiev during the Biden. He did not move in the 4 years that Trump was here. And remember that we killed more Russians in Syria, 400 of the Wagner Group, than we did the entire Cold War. We got out of a missile deal. We sanctioned them. We begged the Germans not to do Nord Stream 2 pipeline. That was the only administration that sold offensive weapons that had been canceled by Obama and put on hold by Biden to Ukraine. So Putin knows that he has a record, Trump, of being unpredictable and has been tough on him. And that kind of belies the conventional wisdom or criticism in Europe that Donald Trump is Putin's puppy. What happens is he's going back and forth, but the principal deal making is, I think everybody left and right, Europe, America, everybody knows what it is. It's just a matter of positioning the boundaries and et cetera. But I think they will get a deal this year sometime, I hope.
The Kremlin said on Monday Vladimir Putin remained open to contacts with US President Donald Trump, after Trump said on Sunday he was pissed off with the Russian president. Trump threatened to impose secondary tariffs of 25% to 50% on buyers of Russian oil, if he felt Moscow was blocking his efforts to end the war in Ukraine. He told NBC News he was angry after Putin last week criticised the credibility of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's leadership. Trump has adopted a more conciliatory stance towards Russia that has worried Western allies, as he tries to end what he calls a ridiculous war, which began when Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. He himself has called for new elections in Ukraine and denounced Zelensky as a dictator. Trump criticised him again on Sunday over a critical minerals deal that US officials have been pushing Kyiv to accept. A summary of the draft suggests the US is demanding all Ukraine's natural resources income for years. Zelensky has said Kyiv's lawyers need to review it.
And I think Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. And if he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. We made a deal on rare earth. And now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the deal. He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that.
Asked about Trump's anger with Putin, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said Moscow continued to work with Washington, and a call between Trump and Putin could be set up at short notice if necessary. Trump had later repeated that he was disappointed with Putin, but added, "I think we are making progress step by step." He said he could impose new trade measures on Russia within a month. Russia has called numerous Western sanctions and restrictions illegal and designed for the West to seize economic advantage in its rivalry with Russia.